want to thank everybody once again, and permit me to introduce myself. My name is Amos Emmanuel. I'm the Chief Data Officer for Africa IPv6-Cybersecurity and Cybersecurity Task Force. And with me on this session, I would like to bring on board Mr. Temitope Ausi. Mr. Temitope Ausi is also a very powerful strategist, and we'll be working together in this panel. This panel holds quite a lot. So, Temitope, are you there?
Yes, I'm around. Thank you very much.
Excellent. And of course, in the house already, I'd recorded that our technical session panelists are all in the house. From Dr. Jimson Oluwole, that's the founder and chairman of Aficta. Dr. Jimson, if you can say hi, let's confirm your voice.
Hi.
Excellent. You're welcome, sir. Let me have also Dr. or Professor Zelalem Mengistu. Professor Zelalem Mengistu. Excellent, sir.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
Excellent. Thank you so very much. Thank you. Great to have you, sir. Can also have Dr. Yao Yields. Dr. Yao Yields, President Ivory Coast IPv6.
Yeah, hi. Hi, everyone.
Excellent. Great to have you, sir. Right. And also our very strong Amazon here, Sirisha Dandu.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Excellent. Sirisha Dandu there is the CEO of Arcadiv Technology Solutions Cybersecurity. She's actually a cybersecurity expert. I'm sure she may be joining us from India or Dubai or wherever. Where are you joining us from?
Saudi Arabia.
Excellent. Thank you so very much. And also on this panel, I have Jake Jones. Jake Jones is the head of infrastructure and business, BSV Association Canada. And
yeah, he's on, yeah.
Are we on the call?
Yeah, he's on the call, yes. But he's based in Edmonton, so that's west of Canada.
Excellent. All right, great. So this panel ideally is such a very powerful one, and it will be a very interesting one again. And I'll be having Dr. Jimson Oluwole to open the panel, and to open the session. And please, for the speakers, you have about 20 minutes max. So let's do this to time. And of course, I can sense already the passion that you all bring that will benefit us all. Thank you. So Dr. Jimson Oluwole, you have the floor.
Thank you very, very much, moderator, Mr. Amos Emmanuel. Yes, I would like to pay tribute to our dear chair of the IPv6 Forum, Professor Latif Ladid, and of course the chief and our pioneer, our oracle in Nigeria, I can say by extension Africa, yes, on IPv6 mobilization, our erudite and emeritus Chris Waje. Really appreciate all your efforts over many decades in Nigeria. You've done a lot, and we appreciate all that you've done. And you are doing it, still doing it. So we trust that this phase of your efforts will be of remarkable success down the line, seeing Africa move up in the IPv6 adoption. All right, let me go straight to my presentation. Yes, it's been very impressive things we've been listening to, all the speeches, and I'll say +1 to all that has been said. And also appreciate the angle Raf brought in. Thank you for bringing that perspective, and also Architect Papalo reflecting the worldview So I'll be actually bringing in the world view and what has been happening at the global level, just holistically. Though IPv6, of course, is the foundation in the digital ecosystem today and the foreseeable future, but we also need to look at the broad picture. So I'll be speaking on WSIS Plus 20 review, IPv6 and the digital economy. So my name again is Jameson Oluwole, Principal Consultant, Contemporary Consulting Limited, Chair of the Advisory Council of the Africa City Alliance. I'm also a member of the United Nations Secretary General's Internet Governance Forum Multi-Stakeholder Advisory Group, and recently appointed a board member of the United Nations General Assembly WSIS Plus 20 Review Co-Facilitators Informal Multi-Stakeholder Sounding Board. So I have this few talking points. Look at the WSIS Plus 20 review, what it's all about. I haven't looked at the background to all that we've been discussing, and then the focus on the action lines and targets under which IPv6 falls, and then enhanced cooperation and IGF, and then look at fostering Africa's digital ecosystem through IPv6 adoption. A lot has been said in this, at this level, so I won't dwell too much on that, and then I will just wrap up. And many of us know, with regard to background, that the momentum we see today on the internet started way back with ARPANET, 1969 to 1989, when it was decommissioned. And by 1983, it took a new dimension with the IPv4, that is TCP/IP, and the commercialization happened in 1998 with the setting up of the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Number to manage the IANA function and also to create policies. At that same time, 1998, the ITU plenipotentiary, world leaders they took note that internet is already having great value to development, and even World Bank, a number of the research they did are saying that GDP is being boosted with greater adoption of the internet, that is the ICT. And the question came up that who is in charge of the internet? And leaders realized that, oh, actually the United States has this the privilege of overseeing the IANA function. And of course, this is understandable because ARPANET was a US government project. And so the world leaders agreed that let us have a WSIS, that is a summit, that is World Summit on Information Society in 2003, to discuss this issue, because it was a big rumble that no, we cannot allow only US to have oversight. So the event took place in 2003, and they came up with Geneva Declaration, and following that is the Geneva Plan of Action, and with it we have the action lines and targets. They couldn't finish in 2003, so they scheduled it again to 2005 in Tunis. So we have the Tunis agenda as well. And so along the line, we had the SDG 2015, and there was a recognition that ICT will help to realize the SDG. So there was an WSIS SDG matrix linking the action line with the SDG goals. Now, with regard to the Tunis agenda, there are two critical outcomes. We have the enhanced cooperation. The enhanced cooperation was to say, oh, government wants to join, other government wants to join the US government in overseeing the IANA function. What is the IANA function? IANA is the Internet Assigned Number Authority, and that is the authorization to be able to add a root, to the root server, or to remove a root from the root server. So other governments say they want to join the US there to determine that, and so on and so forth. So that's about enhanced cooperation. That was the language to use to say, okay, we'll discuss that. So they set up a working group in 2013. I had the privilege of being a member of that working group, representing the business community, global business community from the Global South. We could not conclude our work in the first phase. We moved it to second phase. The second phase was commissioned by the United Nations General Assembly 2016 to 2018. and I had the privilege of being nominated to be part of that too. Again, we could not conclude because it was contentious. Because we said, from business, we said, look, ICANN is already there handling this, and we have a voice in the ICANN ecosystem. We don't have a voice in the ITU ecosystem. It's only government that have a voice. And internet is not just about government, it's about all stakeholders. And so we don't agree that the root server should be moved from ICANN to ITU. So that's the contention. And the contention was kind of resolved sometimes back. I'll get to that shortly. Then the second outcome of the Tunis agenda was the Internet Governance Forum. And it was to start in 2006. So the Internet Governance Forum has really expanded. And with it, we have about over 170 regional and national IGFs. So even right now, we're looking at even having states IGF or local government IGF. Because, for example, in Nigeria, local government are going to have their autonomy. And so we expect they should be able to direct funding properly using ICT. And the Internet Governance Forum is an opportunity to discuss all those subject matters, including IPv6 adoption. In 2013, something remarkable happened. That is a global surveillance issue. And that caused a real row with Snowden, those that remember those period. And then there was a quick call that let us have a meeting, multi-stakeholder meeting to determine the principle that will determine how we will operate on the internet. Then that was what led to the NetMundia 2014 in Brazil. I happened to be in the steering committee that time. At the same time, the US government, based on their original plan, actually is the original plan, because the IONA server was never with the US government. It was with John Postel, and John Postel also realized that, look, I cannot continue to do this, be the postmaster for the IP ecosystem. So you cannot handle it. Imagine happening over 4-point-something billion now with IPv6. How can a one cope? So you pushed, the industry pushed, and the US government took ownership. That was it. So US government by 2014 or 2015 now said, okay, we're going to start the transition so that we can allow all the global community to be involved, because that's the original plan. We don't want to have the monopoly. So US government, in their wisdom, started the handing over, and they graciously handed over to the global community October 1st, 2016. So last year, we had NetMundia plus 10, that is to review the principle as they gone. So there are a lot of our principle that we need to bring in all stakeholders. Government should not feel big that you do it by themselves. They should bring all stakeholders to the table. You know, we'll be hearing about sandboxes, approach to regulation, to operation. We need to bring all stakeholders together. That's the major lesson from NetMundia plus 10 last year. And then also last year, September, we have the Global Digital Compact. Remember I told you the Enhanced Cooperation Working Group failed in 2018, January. And then by July, the Secretary General of the United Nations launched the panel on global digital interdependence. That is a committee set up by the Secretary General, chaired by Melinda Gates and Jack Ma. And so that was last year. So came out with a GDC, Global Digital Compact, the objective to support the realization of the Sustainable Development Goal. So IPv6 is also to help us realize the Sustainable Development Goal. So I will talk a little more down the line about that. So right now we are doing a review. The United Nations authorized that there should be a review of the WSIS, that the World Summit on Information Society. That's 20 years after it was convened in the last one in 2005. So that is what is currently ongoing, and I'm neck deep in that process. So this is just about quick background. So, but indeed, WSIS is aimed at fostering a people-centered, inclusive, and development-oriented information society. And it involves leveraging ICT, as I mentioned earlier, which in the industry we also know as the internet, to enhance global development and improve people's life. WSIS also aims to bridge the digital divides and ensure that everyone can participate in and benefit from the information age. So there are about 11 action lines and 10 targets. The first one is the role of government and stakeholder in the promotion of ICT for development. At the global level, UNDESA handles that, along with ECOSOC. UNDESA is United Nations Department for Economic and Social Affairs. ECOSOC is Economic and Social Council. After the General Assembly, Oh no, after the General Assembly, we have the Security Council, we have the ECOSOC, then we have the CSTD, and other United Nations Regional Commission, and other agencies, and ITU. So government have important role to play at the national level, just as the UNDESA has role to play at the global level. So national government have the priority, they have the critical skills, the stake to lead with this process. But in Africa, it's not really much so, as we have been seeing, because this year, only South Africa had a report, WSIS report, out of all 54 countries in Africa, only South Africa had something, a meeting on WSIS. Okay, how have we fared? Okay, what have we done so far? So if you don't meet to measure your progress, then you cannot be able to manage, your progress indeed. You can't know whether we are moving forward or backward. So that's why this WSIS meeting is important at the national level. So government has the #1 role to play right here, but we encourage government to take this seriously. Action line 2 is about information and communication infrastructure, which is an essential foundation for inclusive information society. ITU is leading this globally. And that's why they wanted the ICANN server to move to ITU. But we said the ITU does not have the framework to allow we business people to also have to sit on equal footing with government. So ITU cannot work to do the exclusive. So ICANN position is reserved. So some people still want the server under the purview of ICANN to be moved to ITU. We say no. So that's the tussle that is ongoing right now. Now, action line 3, access to data, information, and knowledge. UNESCO is overseeing that. ITU is also there. Food and Agricultural Organization, UNIDO, is also there. So government too need to play an important role. And we appreciate governments that have set up data protection commission across Africa, which is wonderful, which is very good. Then action line 4 talk about capacity development. ITU is also doing that, many others. So this also has government has a role to play, and we commend the Nigerian government for this 3 million technical talent. It's very good. Maybe it can be scaled to 10 million down the line, where it was wonderful. So action line 5 is building confidence and security in the use of ICT. So IPv6 comes in here, especially the security embedded in IPv6. It will help to tackle cyber security issues, all the cyber crime. Dr. Werem gave us the statistics. Dr. Gordon also talk about it. So IPv6 will help in this regard. So that's why government need to take it, national government need to take this seriously at the first instance. Then action line 6, talking about enabling environment. ITU is also looking at that. The government too should provide enabling environment, bringing everybody together. They have the lead, okay? And normally if government doesn't move, nothing move, basically. But so we encourage our government to move, and other stakeholders are ready to move with them. Now, action line 7, it has to do with application. We see AI as an application. So AI is not just something out of line. Dr. Werem said I've been doing a study on the AI since 1980s. I've been doing it since 1990s. So there is no big deal about it. It's technology. Technology is applied sciences. What is science? Science is knowledge. Apply the knowledge creatively. That is just simply what it is. So action line 7 is about ICT application, e-government, e-business, e-learning, e-health, e-employment, e-environment, e-agriculture, e-science. We are very low on United Nations e-government index. E-government development index in Africa, very, very low. Okay, so we need to do something about that. Action line 8, cultural diversity and identity. Okay, this is where the public digital infrastructure is very DPI, digital public infrastructure, are very essential. Linguistic diversity, local content. ICANN is doing a lot here to enable people to access the internet in international languages, in their own languages, with their own scripts, which is commendable. Action line 9 is about media. Media is also important. Use media, effectively and intelligently. Action line 10, ethical dimension. This is of AI. So AI also comes under this purview in the information society. And finally, on the action line 11, you have international and regional cooperation. This is where ECOWAS, East African Development Commission, the SADC too need to come together and work together. We need to see them working. Then talking about targets. This is how we will measure it. The target of WSIS is that we need to connect villages with ICT and establish community access points. Do we have all our villages in Africa connected? This is one of the things we need to measure our progress every month, every year, but we don't do it. We need to connect our university, colleges, secondary school, primary school with ICTs. Are we doing that? Are we measuring it? To connect scientific and research center with ICT, are we doing that? Connect public libraries, cultural center, museums, and post offices and archives with ICT. Are we doing that as well? Even health centers and hospitals. These are the targets that we need to be reviewing every year. It's not just that we do programming haphazardly. We need to target our development. Connect all local and central government departments and establish websites and email addresses. 7, to adapt all primary secondary school curricula to meet the challenges of the information society, taking into account national circumstances. And lastly, to ensure that all the world population have access to television and radio services. Don't forget, the goal is information society using ICTs. Then to encourage the development of content and put in place technical conditions in order to facilitate presence and use of world languages on the internet. And then also the 10th point target is to ensure that more than half of the world inhabitants have access to ICT within their reach. Right now, 50% of the, over 50% have access to the internet, yes. And that is, in fact, global average is 67. But sadly, African average is about 39%. 39%, which is simple. Though we have done pretty well in quote, because you can be talking before some countries are 0.5%, you know, penetration. But now average 39%. So we still have some things to do. So as I mentioned, Tony's agenda about enhanced cooperation. So I won't dwell much on that again. Then part of the future I've spoken about that. The objective of the Global Data Compact is close all digital divides and accelerate progress across the Sustainable Development Goals. Expand inclusion in and benefit from digital economy for all. Foster an inclusive, open, safe, secure digital space that respects, protects, and promotes human rights. IPv6 comes in here. Advance responsible, equitable, and interoperable data governance approaches, also important. Enhance international governance of artificial intelligence for the benefit of humanity. In this regard, for regard to the 4th and the 5th point, that's why I mentioned on the chart earlier that United Nations Commission for Science and Technology have set up a data governance working group. They are discussing the ramification of the governance of data. Our data governance authorities need to be involved in that discussion. Proactively, I mean. Then also, they're supposed to set up international scientific panel on AI, and then even AI dialogue. So those are the things coming up. We need to engage. If you're an expert in AI and you think you are what you sort, engage globally. Let African voices be heard. So I talked about the Internet Governance Forum. Yes, we had that in Norway. And as I mentioned, what we are looking forward to now is that we should have subnational IGFs, local IGF to deepen the discussion and achieve all the WSIS action line. So on the review, in which I'm a board member representing non-governmental organization. So this is the first time government, they've set up a body, informal body, bringing non-government stakeholders together to guide them, to help them, to support them. And this is commendable. We commend the United Nations move in this regard, bringing all stakeholders together in line with Net Mundial +10 framework. So His Excellency Ambassador Lokale of Kenya and that of Janila of Albania are the co-facilitators of the review process. And the zero draft has been released. So maybe I will just push the link of that zero draft on the platform so that we can look at it, read it through, and be part of the process. So area of for WSIS +20 review include permanence of the IGF. So from that zero draft that was released on August 29, IGF mandate is now made permanent. IGF is now a permanent part. It's now proposed to be a permanent part of the United Nations, which is what we have been clamoring for, because we need to continue to sustain the forum where we discuss even IPv6 at the global stage, internet governance at the global stage, data governance. So we appreciate the fact that the co-facilitators are listening. So it's promote multi-stakeholderism. Also, they will talk about how to tidy up enhanced cooperation, digital cooperation, tidy up the action lines target to accommodate AI and data governance. talking about digital economy, digital divide, and now to implement WSIS, GDC for SDGs, because we don't have the capability to be having meetings different places. So we need to coalesce them. So the zero draft actually recommended that we should have a place in CSTD to handle all these initiatives. So the report will be subject to UN General Assembly decision on December 15 and 16, 2025 in New York. So we're encouraged, those of us that are following this and want to be at the United Nations General Assembly during that period, we are encouraged to join our national delegation. We are encouraged to join our national delegation. In fact, 2 slots is allowed per country. So 2 slots for non-governmental stakeholders to join the national delegation to be at the General Assembly. So we encourage non-government stakeholders to be part of this. We should embrace it. This is what we clamor for. And we also encourage government too, to encourage the non-governmental stakeholders to be part of it. So you know that government alone will carry their bag and go. You know, bring in all your other stakeholders, the telco, bring them in to be part of the process. As we know, yes, I've talked about it, that the African digital transformation, it depends on this robust connectivity. Currently at 39%, is still, we still have a long way to go, with the world average at 67%. So about 2.9 billion people are still left behind, majority in Africa. African e-government index is poor. For example, Nigeria is just number 140 in the UN e-government development index out of 196 countries. So we know that IPv4 is being exhausted, and then but IPv6 is inexhaustible. So they've talked a lot about IPv6, so I won't need to talk again about it. So just to gloss over that, yes, we have 3.4 to with 38 zeros after each space available.
Oh, okay.
So then we need to promote, we need to promote digital inclusion, as this IPv6 will drive the digital services. Then 5G network promoting inclusion at all levels. Key challenges: low adoption rates. Professor Ladid and Dorothy Gordon and others, they mentioned all this. Limited awareness among policymakers. I put on the platform that we need to, our agencies, development agency, need to set up their own internal lab. Just as Musa mentioned, you have to lead by example. Set up the lab, invite people to come around there and use it practically. And it's not, yes, policy is important. We do practically and then go along with it with policy and provide incentive for private sector IPv6 deployment. We need to mandate it in the procurement. It was also mentioned, okay? We need to provide tax reliefs for ISPs to do that. Then our roadmap, thanks to Raf, you also underscored this. We need to build capacity, going to build it, okay? And accelerate the network in from even government infrastructure. Galaxy, for example, should be leading, adopt dual stack as we move to IPv6 only, then collaborate with all regulators and stakeholders. So then we ensure compliance, use IPv6 for IoT and cloud innovation, train ICT workforce on IPv6. So in conclusion, WSIS Plus 20 review indicated connectivity gaps and digital divides still exist. IPv6 is a strategic enabler of Africa's digital economy, an instrument to help reduce digital divide in the fourth industrial revolution and future industrial revolution. It will unlock Internet of Things, 5G, e-commerce, digital services while promoting inclusion in the fourth industrial revolution. Coordinated adoption ensures Africa's future readiness. But let's start locally first. Call to action, government, please let us conduct our annual WSIS review to measure progress and note gaps for action. This is how we can really holistically measure our growth in this regard in the information society. Let's integrate IPv6 into ICT policy. Okay, though in Nigeria, we already see progress in this regard, so let's be sustained. ISPs and telco, please, let's get target adoption, 80% adoption, maybe in less than 5 years. And private sector embed IPv6 readiness in all digital solutions. Any procurement made today should be IPv6 ready. Thank you very much. I hope I didn't take too much time.
Thank you very much, sir. You didn't take much of our time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. Right. So thank you there, Dr. Jameson Olufuye. I guess the next, Mr. Temitope, you can help on the next speaker.
Is Dr. Howe on the line? He's the next speaker, please. Dr. Howe Yus Agni, President of Ivory Coast IPv6 Council.
Yes, hi. Yeah,
Thank you very much. The floor is yours.
Okay, so I will share a small presentation. If you
Please,
mind.
you can go ahead, sir. You have the capacity.
Okay. Good. Hello. Oh. All right. Okay. All right. Please, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay.
Okay.
So, so thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to present, let's say, in the the IPv6 Council activity in Côte d'Ivoire. Just to let you as a question, if possible. So the council have been released since September 14, 2023 in Abidjan, thanks to Mr. Latif. So it was a great pleasure for me to have this, let's say, distinction. But the main objective of this, activities or this council is to promote the IPv6 deployment. That's it. And the target industry that we have, for sure, we have, first of all, the government agencies, just to push them to achieve this IPv6 introduction and, let's say, adoption in the country. Because since 2013, there was a discussion in Côte d'Ivoire to see how we can, let's say, move to IPv6, but it was very difficult because the private sector was not very well involved, let's say, to this strategy that had been taken by the government. So that's why one of the, the stakeholders as well, we have the research communities, because when, let's say, the researchers to go deeply and let everyone involved, let's say, to this IPv6 to make it success. For sure, industries and education as well. So since 2023, the IPv6 adoption in Cote d'Ivoire, it was around 2%, 2.05% or something like that. So after that, we have a couple of activities because we capitalize on the past, let's say, failed activities that has been performed since 2013. Okay. We went a little bit differently as compared to what people majorly are doing. Okay. Today we are a little bit more than 12 to 13, 16 in terms of adoption in Cote d'Ivoire, because the major operators that we have in Cote d'Ivoire, we have 3. They are engaged, fully engaged to go to IPv6. The first one started with the fixed network, and since March, end of March 2025, is adopted and everything is okay. The second operators that finalizing it is going fully on IPv6 for sure with those stack on the fixed network and the mobile network. But how we did it, this is, let's say, the main of the point we just want to highlight it here. First of all, we want to see the operators and the tech companies before even going to the authorities and the researchers or other stakeholders. So within the operator and the tech companies, we have one of the companies we call GVA. This is FTTH company, fixed network. So this company, they were deploying IPv6 since they were in the country. 2 years or 3 years back. But the impact is very few because they are new and so on. So we say, okay, this is something because they have an experience in that. How can we show this experience and what they are, capitalizing, and how to convince the big tech companies in Cote d'Ivoire to follow the same way. We discussed with the CEO of Move Africa Cote d'Ivoire, the CEO of MTN, and the CEO of Orange as well. We did a couple of meetings with them and the presentation, even, let's say, how the usage of IPv4, let's say, is very short in Cote d'Ivoire. I'm not sure that even we are receiving IPv4 as IP address in Cote d'Ivoire anymore. So after that, we went to see the telecom authorities. First of all, we went to see the minister himself of telecommunication, and we discussed deeply with them, and we emphasize on, let's say, the activities or the strategy that was presented, 10 years back, let's say 2013, as I said. So it gives us the right to discuss with the national regulator, AITCI, and there was a lab as well, but was not very used. And the same minister, let's say, introduced us to his colleague. This is the Minister of Higher Education and Scientific Research in Cote d'Ivoire, and we went to see him as well. We have 2 majors, let's say, university or kind of school in Cote d'Ivoire. We have Polytechnic and we have university, normal university. We have more than 8 or 10 universities now. And for Polytechnic, we have more than 2 in the country. Decided to launch or to do our first summit. The first summit was held thanks to Mr. Latif. I don't know if you can see my, can I say, okay. Mr. Latif is here, okay. It was a very big pleasure for me to receive him in Cote d'Ivoire. During the presence, we discussed with the ministry representative, the regulator as well, and the tech companies was, I mean, they were very represented. We have as well Huawei that was a part of the, let's say, discussion. And at the end of the day, we release, let's say, a white paper. This is something that's very important because talking to those stakeholders was great, but giving them something that's very tangible thing was something, let's say, that can emphasize the next discussion. And this is what we did. And also we gave some, let's say, award to the 4 companies that we have on the market. When I say 4 companies, because we have GVA, as I said, they were the first introducing IPv6 in the country. And we have the 3 major operators. We have Orange, MTN, and Move. You know, we showed them for sure the benefit to move to IPv6. This was technical benefit and even financial benefit, in strategical benefit as well. We presented all of them. And just to get them involved deeply, we said, okay, based on what they already did, because there were some important to do this testing with them. And after that, we have the preface. Preface, this is the Minister of Telecommunication in Côte d'Ivoire. After the summit, I went to discuss with him, and he was very happy, I mean, about how we are pushing digital and how we are pushing, let's say, the country itself to move very fast, because the president of Côte d'Ivoire, one of his biggest challenge that he gave since he was in country is to improve the digitalization in Côte d'Ivoire. So this is something that was very happy for that. So we have a preface with them, with the ministry. With the AITCI, it was a woman, Madame Bamba Touré Nawa. Unfortunately, she has been replaced by another guy. And we have as well the preface with the CEO of Institut National Polytechnique. This is on the first polytechnic, Félix Houphouët-Boigny, in Côte d'Ivoire. Just for your information, I have been, let's say, studying this university a couple of years before. Dr. Musa Abdul Kader, I know him very well. So this is very, very kind person. And after that, because everyone now is aware how we can use IPv6, how we can move forward in IPv6. So the regulator himself, they came to see us again. They said, okay, we can see that things are moving. Things are moving because the operators, they are moving to adopt IPv6. And we have tech companies as well. They are pushing to adopt IPv6. So from the regulator perspective, we want to as well to be part of this, let's say, challenge. And we say, yes, the floor is yours because you are the one that's supposed to regulate and know very well everything that's happened in this. So it was in July 30 in Yamoussoukro, again, because I say again, because Mr. Latif was present again online. It was online. It showed, let's say, how IPv6 and the very good insight of IPv6 worldwide, and how Côte d'Ivoire can move very fast by adopting IPv6 in cybersecurity, let's say in digital improvement and so on in Cote d'Ivoire. Yeah, so many companies was part of this. I mean, they were part of this initiative in Yamoussoukro. We have more than 20. They say in the publication, I mean, the public does say they said 20, but it was more than 20. All the operators were represented. The ministry itself and the cloud companies, because there are some private cloud companies here in Cote d'Ivoire that they're about to migrate to IPv6 as well. So we compare because, as I said, we release a white paper. So we compare the recommendation that, let's say, we release in this white paper and the conclusion of the last summit that we have in Yamoussoukro. Almost all the proposal and the recommendation that we did have been taken into account and will be transmitted to the minister, let's say, to be approved officially, so that we can, let's say officially said the whole company, I mean, the whole country is embarked for this IPv6. So I will maybe go through some of them to go quickly. So the first recommendation is to create a high-level national IPv6 strategy. So that's this is something that has been adopted so far. We have as well to set up IPv6 industry organization. Okay, we have the council that has been created, and we are going to create a task force. The task force is for the country itself, to go through in detail. Most of the stakeholders today, they're deploying strategy. So we want to, let's say, take all those strategy and build something that can be having the quick wins very quickly. Okay, this will be, I mean, the top priority of this task force. So we have as well how to encourage IPv6 enhanced pilot and operation government network with some scope, small size, and then scales. Today, to honestly speaking, this is something that we already passed, because the major, let's say, actors in Cote d'Ivoire, they are already moving to the IPv6. I will show you, let's say, in details, let's say, the progress for that. And next, we have as well setting the policy support. I mean, policy support, set out the policy to help investor, public and private, reducing negative impact of some existing legislation that's hindered them implementing, executing the IPv6 plan. That is one of the key action that the task force will do, is to supervise the implementation that's already ongoing, and let's say to assist the new companies and the new actors to see, I mean, to do a babysitting to see how they can go to these IPv6 without having so much, let's say, a problem. As an example, one of the, let's say, the operators in Cote d'Ivoire, they were about to launch the IPv6 on mobile network with the dual stack, but they faced some challenges. I think most of the time, there are some companies that are forgetting that they have some cache coming from Facebook, Google cache, and so on. And what they already set up is already in IPv4. So when you go, or you want to go to IPv6, you have to implement as well with the do another setup with this cache to make sure that they support IPv6, because you guys know exactly why operators are implementing cache. This is to reduce the bandwidth, internet bandwidth. So they forget it, but fortunately, with the discussion that we have with them, they are taking into account to implement or to activate IPv6 on the mobile network very quickly. Okay, that's it. We have some details. I mean, 1 or 2 points that still, in discussion with the regulator. This is how to instantiate the IPv6 from the general IPv6 policy and adapt the model to Cote d'Ivoire. So this is some details that we're still discussing with them to see how we can map what we have and exactly how we can have the feedback. We have a target that we propose to them as well. And honestly speaking, the regulator, he proposed another very aggressive target. Instead of 2030, with 80% for IPv6 penetration in Cote d'Ivoire, they proposed June 2028. Yeah, this is feasible because most of the big operators they are doing, and with the lack of IPv4 public address in Cote d'Ivoire, we are pushing to achieve this one. For sure, we have another plan for the researchers and for the campus, just to make sure that they're supporting and they are, let's say, emphasizing the IPv6 details during their school and so on. So this is part of the metric that we pushing as well with the Ministry of the researchers. So finally, this we have today, operators already deploy on their fixed network, but just to one of the big operators in Cote d'Ivoire already deployed for fixed network. They are preparing for mobile network to be deployed. The second one, as I said, they are implementing dual stack on the mobile part. So in this September, normally they said in 2 to 3 weeks, they're supposed to launch the IPv6 in the country on the mobile network. For the fixed network, it will be in October, maybe 2 or 3 weeks later. And the third operator, we are still discussing with them because they started some testing now. They are ready to go with us. So we are pushing to access, very quickly to this IPv6. Just to do a wrap up, okay? In 2023, in September, we were around 2%. And today we are, let's say, at this stage. From this date to this date, this is exactly what we did, and the action that's still ongoing to, let's say, to prioritize the IPv6 in the digital sector, in the cybersecurity, and even in the defense and so on. There are some details that we cannot, let's say, details here. But thank you again to Mr. Latif and everyone for your support, because this is very good for us to move very fast. Thank you very much. And if you have questions, I will be very happy to share some more details. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very, very much. We have to move on pretty fast because we are very much behind schedule. So we are calling on our next speaker, the person of Sirisha Dandu, the CEO, Aka Lev Technology Solutions. Ma, the stage is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Okay, great. So first of all, I think it's such an honor to be on this platform. I've heard most of the speakers, and fantastic points have been brought forward, and there was a lot of energy and enthusiasm that I wish to take much further. A lot of the points I was going to say was discussed as well, but that doesn't stop me from giving my own unique perspective of what I see and think we are in store for, right? Okay, so I'll just introduce myself briefly. I'm Sirisha Dandu. I come from India, but I currently am located in Saudi Arabia, and I have my company in India, Saudi Arabia, Nigeria, and Sweden. I'm trying to find a way to, sorry, yeah. Yes, and so we primarily, I have spent several years, over 15 years in cybersecurity. IT, started my journey with IT and then moved on to cybersecurity. And I'm really passionate about the field because I think on a daily basis, I feel very empowered, and I feel that we are supporting organizations actually thrive and become the best versions of themselves. So I've also got chance to move around quite a bit. I was in Nigeria actually for 5 years, where I was part of Deloitte team, building a practice and working in West Africa as a whole. And then I moved around to Middle East and US and UK and Sweden a little bit. So thank you so much for being here. Let's talk a little bit about what I think are the key risks and opportunities that we have, right? So I want to paint a picture for you. We all know, we've already seen that IPv4 just has around 4 billion, 4.8 billion, 4.3 or 4.8 billion IP addresses, right? And then IPv6 has around 340 on decillion, which is my previous speaker has said 38 zeros after 340, which is pretty huge, right? So just I was just thinking about this, and then it occurred to me that just imagine how many addresses already India and China would have taken, right, out of the 4.5 or 4 billion odd. So just imagine, with the growth we are experiencing in digital world across the world, the population is growing, number of devices everybody owns are growing, organizations are growing, we are entering into IoT, and the digital space is expanding so vastly, right? So there is no reason why something like IPv6 should be a super hit thing. There is no reason why people should not jump to adopt. It's because it's like, uh, i- so it's not an inexhaustible resource. We human beings, we have very less choice about exhaustible resources. We can't do anything about it. But IP addresses and being on the internet is not one of them, right? But then there are many limitations and the many perspectives stopping us from achieving that. And let's talk a little bit more around that. So as you see that Africa is expanding super fast. Africa has been one of the top fast growing countries which digital evolution for the last decade, with number of mobile phones increasing, number of people on internet increasing, number of payment platforms and financial inclusion increasing significantly across all of Africa, right? All of this boils down to simply being on the network, being on the cyberspace. And if the cyberspace is not able to accommodate all of these people coming onto the cyberspace, it's going to be a problem. Somebody is going to suffer. So overall, the system, it will start small, but the impact will become larger and larger as we are growing in size, without any limits, right? Today there's no limitation to how much one can digitize, and how much one can innovate with AI, amidst us quantum computing coming right at our doorstep, right? And then Africa's adoption is a little behind. I will show you a picture that I saw on internet, which is kind of representing where we are with respect to IPv6 adoption. And then the rising demand for platforms, digitalization, IoT devices, etc., etc. So I just also want to paint another picture. So imagine, all of you know what network actually is, right? So network is like the first layer of defense that any organization or any of us have. When we connect to internet, how your network is organized is your first layer of defense. So think of it as your boundary wall of your house, or your house walls of your house itself, right? So you need it to be strong. You need it to support you against natural disasters, against theft, against attacks and all kinds of things, right? So that's what you want to expect from your boundary, that at least the basic and the first premise that you have, where anybody can actually attack you or the organization you're working for. Now just imagine that this boundary is expandable. You could actually, with some considerations of cost considerations and technical considerations, you can move this boundary and nobody is stopping you. They're not saying, hey Sirisha, you can only live in a 6 foot 6 by 4 inch house. You can expand this as you want. Unlimited growth potential, and such an opportunity exists for us today, and that's such a big opportunity that we should jump on as Africa and as a world itself, right? Because this is like gives opportunity for so much more growth. Especially think about IoT devices, for example, right? You think of large organizations. Now previously what we were doing, there's a limitation on how many devices can be in a subnet, 255, 254, right? So if you have, if a large organization has several IoT devices that you want to operate using a single kind of control, or you want to have a secure zone for these, right? You can have, you are limited by the number of devices you can onboard. So we had to create multiple subnets and then offer the same level of security across those subnets, managing them centrally in order to make sure that the network is talking to each other, is cohesive, and we are getting the best results, right? Now with IPv6 intervention or inclusion, we can actually expand that. There's no limit on how many devices you can have in a subnet. So organizations can play with it, choose how they want to do their networking, choose how they want to do their device onboarding. There's also automatic onboarding with IPv6 and things like that, right? So it does give a lot of strategic flexibility in terms of how we want to organize technologically in our organization, so that we get the best results for our investments and innovation that we are taking up. Okay, so this may not be 100% exact representation. I also don't believe this is 100% exact representation, but it does show to a large extent how IPv6 adoption is across the world. And the powerful stories really are, and the recent powerful stories really are France and Germany, with very fast adoption rate. And especially that was possible because the mobile service providers or internet service providers are actually onboarding, when they're onboarding new customers, they're just onboarding them on IPv6. So there is a whole infrastructure and innovation movement around how, if we are taking up new subscriptions, if we are adding new IP addresses, how can we be IPv6 compliant already, so that we can actually work with what is available in the country. So it's like a movement that is made at a policy level, at a country level, that has driven organizations to adopt much faster than in many other places. I can also see that India, for example, is a early mover when it comes to IPv6, also because of the demand, right? Our population is very high, and and it's going through a huge digital evolution at this point of time. So we are also much into this game as well. Africa, Nigeria is having some play, and then few other countries are having their initial introduction into IPv6 and starting to adopt. But I think there is still a long way to go, which is very much possible, because I think that's what this forum is all about, and that's why we are all here. So yes, what does IPv6 really offer, right? So when it comes to network, we already discussed that the one of the key things that we want from network is functionality and security. If you boil down to these two things, right? Functionality wise, IPv6 provides much better scalability for network teams in organizations, in terms of auto setup, in terms of not needing network address for network address identification NAT, and also in terms of better transparency. So we can just have a central console where all the devices in the organization are in one place. You can see what addresses they have, how they're operating, and what performance we are getting from a network perspective, and what security we can build into the network. So it's just offers a bit much more flexibility in terms of being able to play with what we have. And then IPv6 also comes with default security, default authentication and authorization protocols that will help in enhancing, identifying the users that are using the systems, what the actions that are happening over the internet, and also being able to integrate with larger global organizations that are adopting IPv6 as well. However, of course, this is all a journey. For example, if you see security tools, how they detect, identify, and showcase the threats, there is an evolution that needs to be done in there as well, as to customizing for IPv6 kind of environments, how we can do much more better threat detection and understanding. But then the journey has to start somewhere, and I think large organizations can be real testing grounds for this, especially data centers. For example, large scale data centers that are in Africa, they can be the testing grounds for adopting IPv6, because they have many IP addresses. They provide large number of IP addresses that are publicly that needs to be accessed publicly, and then it becomes easier for them to manage. Maybe there is an initial cost involvement, of course there is, but then over the long time it helps in managing the cost in much better manner vis-a-vis the security threats. So if we delay IPv6, so the thing with IPv6 and IPv4 is the interoperability between these two is not that great. So organizations can still adopt IPv6 in a slow and steady manner or in a planned manner, but then we have to understand that there has to be a proper segregation, and then you can adopt IPv6 kind of networking for a specific set of devices or a specific environment that you want to create. Let's say you want your cloud environment to be on IPv6, but your on-prem to be on IPv4. There's still interoperability issues, but then there are solutions one can use, or methodologies one can put in place to solve that. It's not like so. That's what makes this even a little bit more challenging, because organizations are struggling where to start, understanding where to start, because they probably don't have the budgets to go full-fledged on IPv6, or the time or the energy and resources, right? So what we as a team, what we as a group of people that have experience in this and have seen the challenges, right, we have to also start designing methodologies that organizations can adopt in being able to move from IPv4 to IPv6. It is not knowing and facing and the fear of not being able to, the fear of the downtime, fear of not knowing what will happen after we move, I think is stopping a lot of organizations that could make this journey. So what we need to do is we need to educate as much people as possible, from policy level, country level, of course, at all levels, but we can actually do this at organization level as well. I have seen a lot of presentations where there is this movement happening at international global level, and then we saw the Ivory Coast, where the ISPs are part of this committee that is discussing all of these things, right? So that's what we need to do across board in Africa. We need to bring ISPs into one room, and we need to talk to them. What are the challenges? How do you go from point A to point B? Can we target in 2026 X number of organizations that are large scale and have a larger internet footprint and device footprint as our first set of organizations we want to take to IPv6? So that kind of planning should be in place. And the thing is, as we the thing about technology is, something that is relevant today becomes relevant 3 to 4 years from now. So as IPv6 is gaining momentum across globe, um, the most likelihood is that the security tools will be fine-tuned to handle IPv6. Many systems and solutions that are built will be fine-tuned to handle IPv6. So IPv4 will slowly start losing its support, will start losing the technical skills and expertise and things like that. So we have to move with the changing times before this happens. And then we have to develop skills and expertise in Africa. So we can actually, for example, this group of people can actually, we can plan some training forums where we can pick young African youth that are interested to learn networking and interested to understand how IPv6 works and how to configure it, how to build systems using IPv6 as your network layer, and then also how to build systems on top of that, how to route, how to connect systems, how to oversee and maintain the connectivity and things like that, right? So I think building local expertise is modern systems is very important. Of course, modern systems could because if you don't do this and move to IPv6, then we might actually have issues with being more in the riskier side because of not having the skills to um, understand and explore if something happens. Let's say if an attack happens, how do you understand where it happened? People understand the traditional networking. Everybody knows that IP addresses have 255.xxx, right? You know that. And then all ethical hackers, if you see on a day-to-day basis, they know how to look for IP addresses. They know how to scan them. They know how to understand what are the systems, which system could have what IP address. But then with IPv6, that changes quite a bit, right? So with that, how do we take care of the skills that are needed to maintain this along vis-a-vis the change is also a big transformation that needs to happen in Africa, without which we will be more risk than before with IPv4. So call to action for Africa, of course, create national policies to accelerate adoption. That's very key. I know a lot of speakers in this room are working at national and international level, which is, I think, phenomenal. This has to happen at a national level where national policies dictate a roadmap like Vision 2030, for example, a Vision 2030 where we say by 2030 we want all devices or at least 70% of devices in this country to move to IPv6, and then the ISPs will pick that queue and then they will start building infrastructure and facilities that can make this happen. In investing in training and workforce deployment development is very, very important. Anytime a new technology comes, right? First of all, in cybersecurity field, we're grappling with the AI evolution. Every day, we are cybersecurity professionals are having to evaluate what happens if this AI tool comes into the organization. What is the data security concerns? What to what extent are we exposed with this APIs being connected everywhere to the core systems and to other non-core systems together in one place, right? So there is just so much of technical overload that is happening when it comes to cybersecurity. So if we do not develop workforce to meet this challenge of upcoming major innovations alongside IPv6, we will be at short of resources, we'll be short of resources in Africa, and then that will lead to a lot of problems in not being able to meet the needs from security standpoint. Foster collaboration between governments, telecoms, and enterprises. I think this is very key. This can only happen with everybody coming on board. Everybody that has spoken before me has said this. I can't emphasize this more because this is a major transformation. This is not something that that an organization by itself can just say, I did this and we're good. It's about interoperability. It's about being able to be on the same page and communicate. It's about cost as well. If nation doesn't come together and set cost expectations of what it takes to transfer from IPv4 to IPv6, it will become very hard for organizations to make that journey because they don't know if they're paying the right price. They don't know if they are the ones that are paying the price of early adopters, which is also a fear factor which a lot of organizations have, right? Cost is quite important, and it would cost to make this journey. So people like us, people that have this responsibility, we also have to prepare models, methodologies, and frameworks that will show organizations like this is a strategy. Today you have this many devices, your asset base is this much. You need to transfer this to this IPv6. What is a journey and how much would it cost you? And this can only happen if there is a integrated understanding at a country level, at Africa level, as to what this means to us. But the truth is, this is the future. I don't think anybody can say or deny that moving from IPv4 to IPv6 is the reality that we face today. This will happen. Sooner or later, we are going to run out of the number of IP addresses that are available, and organizations will not have any choice. You go to an ISP and ask, hey, I want to another public IP, and there's just not any left. So what will you do? And then there are limitations of number of devices that each subnet can have. So there's only so much that goes around with IPv4. And then we also have to move quickly to secure Africa's digital future, because Africa's digital future is so fast growing, exponentially growing, and very soon we are going to face more and more cyber threats. In my work, I see cyber attacks almost every week. On bad days, almost every week, and then I see sometimes seasonal attacks, sometimes attacks on a certain kind of organizations and things like that, right? So that is the reality. The hackers are actually getting ahead of the game in comparison with organizations. They are understanding, okay, this organization has just moved to IPv6. Okay, we know what to do. We know how to. They probably don't have a clue as to this vulnerability that exists that could be exploited. So we have to move very fast. We Alongside the digital future, we have to move very fast from cybersecurity perspective as well. So I would also request this forum to make it a main goal, besides the digital transformation that comes with IPv6 adoption, to take cybersecurity hand by hand, because there's no other way to do this. We have to move with cybersecurity hand by hand at every step of the way. So where we go and talk, we have to talk about both the technical advancement and the cybersecurity advancement that is needed in order to adopt IPv6 and make the journey from IPv4. So with that, I close my presentation. We are open to questions. I hope I didn't take more time. I tend to. If I didn't, then that's really good of me.
You were on point.
Right,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Temitope there. Thank you, Sirisha. That was great. That was elegant, and in fact, it obviously can be less from an Amazon like you are. And quite beautiful session we've had in this last technical session. Dr. Jameson opened up with quite a whole lot. And I so cherish the kind of work he does, because quite very many years ago, the Net Mondial started like something that won't even evolve. But today, I can imagine all the works that they put into that. And by today, we are speaking to all those developments, and we're even trying to do more. So thank you. Thanks again, Mr. Temitope. I think at this point, we are happy to have rounded up this session. And I think everybody should please give them a round of applause. Let's just